And everyone knows President Trump, there's no way this guy's anti-Semitic. This guy was the most pro-Israel president in history. Put the embassy back in Jerusalem. Abraham Accord, I mean, the most pro-Israel president we've ever had, did more in foreign policy in the Middle East than any president we've ever had. So,
and do you denounce your tweet praising Kanye West?
That tweet was not our account, and that tweet's been removed.
That was Republican circus freak Jim Jordan trying and failing to distance himself from this tweet by the House Judiciary Committee Republicans. In that tweet, they stand behind Kanye West, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump. The tweet was disgraceful when it was first posted, and it only got worse as Kanye West became America's most famous Nazi sympathizer. And despite what Jordan just said, that tweet absolutely did come from the House Republicans' account, and it sat there for over a month as Kanye West praised Hitler, promoted Holocaust denial, and embraced white nationalists like Nick Fuentes. Now Republicans want to distance themselves from West, but the internet never forgets.
Now, the tweet today was deleted, likely because the first man on that list, rapper Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, he became something of a conservative star a few months ago after he sat down for a fawning interview with Tucker Carlson, who couldn't stop talking about how fascinating and interesting, provocative he was. Showered with effusive praise on the rapper in the aftermath of Kanye West appearing at Paris Fashion Week in a trolling White Lives Matter t-shirt.
But let's get one thing straight. This isn't just about Kanye West. That tweet wasn't the first time the GOP has flirted with anti-Semites who hide behind the title of troll to spout white nationalism and attack Jews. And Kanye West isn't the only voice in this grim chorus. Here's FBI Director Chris Wray explaining exactly why we should all be worried that Republicans are publicly dancing with the white nationalist movement.
And I will say that a majority of the domestic terrorism cases that we've investigated are motivated by some version of what you might call white supremacist violence, but it includes other things as well. I think the greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violent extremism.
White nationalist domestic terrorism is the greatest threat to American national security, and we've known this for years. Even under the Trump administration, federal law enforcement and the military admitted that neo-Nazis and the far right present the biggest and most violent ongoing threat to our country in decades. And the GOP considers many of those extremists part of their base. Our nation is already facing a stunning rise in race and religion-based hate crime. Anti-Asian hate crimes have surged over 339% nationwide in just the last year. In 2021, anti-Semitic incidents hit a record high, up 34%. Anti-Black hate crimes rose by nearly a third, and hate crimes overall are up nearly 10% year over year. These acts of violence are unfolding every single day in our nation. According to the FBI, just about 65% of all hate crimes are based on race, ethnicity, or ancestry, and it's white supremacists driving that violence. Just 2 weeks ago, the man who killed 10 New Yorkers in a Buffalo grocery store pleaded guilty to terrorism charges. His manifesto painted the picture of an unrepentant white nationalist high on replacement theory, the same garbage pushed out by Tucker Carlson and Fox News. And Carlson hasn't just mentioned the Great Replacement theory once or twice. According to research from the New York Times, Carlson has mentioned it dozens of times, filling his viewers' head with race grievances on a weekly basis. Scott Greer, a former editor at Carlson's Daily Caller, even resigned after it came out he was also a prominent author at a white nationalist website. By making the conversation entirely about Kanye West, the mainstream media is doing exactly what Republicans want. They're helping to make the surge in neo-Nazism seem like something small, something contained to weirdos like Kanye West. But it isn't. It's a growing threat to our own government, and yet our own government refuses to treat it as the deadly threat that it is.
What are we getting most wrong when people in my seat are trying to frame this discussion, trying to bridge to folks watching this to understand it?
So lone wolf is a category partially invented by the white power movement to direct our attention away from what it is, which is an organized social movement that brought together neo-Nazis, Klansmen, skinheads, militiamen, and others, beginning right after the Vietnam War and steadily building up to the present moment. This is the same thing we have been dealing with for decades, if not generations.
What Republicans are doing is condemning individual instances of white supremacists as isolated lone wolf incidents, without acknowledging how their own party is instrumental in radicalizing so many of these fascist ways of thinking. It's no coincidence that the far right considers the GOP to be its home. They found plenty of people willing to make excuses for them, or simply ignore them altogether.
Here's what House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said last month after Gosar and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke at a conference organized by a white nationalist.
There isn't no place for that. There's no place for what has gone on with that organization by far, and there never will be in this party, and it will never be tolerated.
And obviously, Green and Gosar are already off their committees, but you said in November that you'd return them to their committees and use that they might even get better committee assignments. Do you stand by that still?
They have the ability to be able to get committees based upon that time when it comes.
You heard it straight from the Republican leader. Not only are Republicans like Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene not being punished for attending white supremacist events, they're about to be rewarded with new committee assignments that will make them incredibly powerful members of Congress. Yet they still want you to believe the GOP condemns white nationalism. The GOP is both unwilling and unable to police its own connections to the far right, because without those votes, they'd be a permanent minority party. Instead, they've chosen to lie, evade, and distract from the growing threat white nationalism poses to our nation by acting like this is something the left is just making up. Just try not to notice all of the bodies piling up. The Department of Justice must redouble its efforts to combat white supremacy and its end stage, violent domestic terrorism. If they don't, those lunatics may soon find themselves with a powerful Republican ally in the White House. And if you think things are bad now, wait until the neo-Nazis have a direct line to the Oval Office. If you made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like, consider subscribing, and check out my new Substack, maxburns.substack.com, for even more coverage. And leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.